Hello, my darlings. Madame Raven here with another wonderful story by the author Gelfwin. This one I'm afraid I might have to give a trigger warning on, as it triggered me to past terrors of mine. Nevertheless, it is a good story, and so it is here. There is a hidden place. They made a strange pair, this fleeing woman and chasing man, her hair pale as moonlight, his golden as the sun. She stopped in a clearing and was smiling as he stumbled into it. His eyes widened and he lost interest in the chase suddenly. She moved easily through the ruined building. He followed slowly with widening eyes. She knelt at the edge of the hidden pool of water, so clear it glowed in the faint light. Pale hands pushed aside the wilder weeds that clung to the stone bottom, revealing a skull gleaming pale in the moonlight. He grimaced, noting a smaller skeleton as well at the bottom of the silvered pool. A desecration of a holy place. These poor souls should have been given a proper burial. No, there is a reason these bones have been left. They belong here. She sat on the smooth, worn stones bordering the pool and trailed a hand in the water. If it were day, you would see a butterfly here. It is called the murdered lover. Blood-red upper wings and bone-white lower wings, marked with black edges like charcoal. You will never see it anywhere but here. The man frowned at her and knelt to say a blessing over the bones. The woman merely shook her head at his arrogance in thinking that they needed such a thing, waving a hand to the bones within the water. She was a priestess, a blessed daughter of the goddess, filled with a strength and grace that would not know fear. Running a fingertip over the brow of the skull at her feet, he was a warrior, arrogant, headstrong, recklessly brave. They were enemies. He killed her here and she was avenged? The man frowned at the woman who ignored him. She fell into the hands of the enemy, the last survivor, and they took their rage and anger out on her, keeping her alive, breaking her mind, her body, her spirit. And at first he thought nothing of the cruelty towards her. But they went too far when she no longer reacted to them, no longer saw, no longer felt or heard them as they handed her to ones who would destroy her soul for their own power. In that the warrior could not abide. He stole her away and restored health slowly to the body, but the mind was gone. A shattered doll he could not glue back together, a silent witness to his life. He could speak to her of everything and anything, never fearing the words used against him. And he sought to learn everything of who she had been. The more he learned, the worse his grief became. For he learned of a fearless creature that had loved her people, been brave in the face of overwhelming odds, and wanted nothing save the safety of her own kin. 2 years passed before he admitted that what he held every night was a cage housing a soul that should have been free. And so he came here to a hidden place even then, for it belongs to the goddess. And throughout the night he held her in his arms and whispered all the hopes and dreams he had ever had, spoke of regret and sorrow of his wish to see her made whole. And when the moon fell from the sky and the brash sun started turning the clouds to garish colors, he snapped her neck and laid her within the pool, safe in the arms of her goddess at last. He turned to leave, to seek battle and end his misery. But something stopped him. A ghost floated over the waters, smiling at him, and a soft whisper of "Thank you" came to his ears. She brushed the tangled vines back over the skull, a mother pulling a blanket over a child. He returned to the well and knelt down, begging her forgiveness. She held out a hand and freed his soul to join her with the goddess, for she had been aware in her cage of flesh those 2 years and had grown to love him, and asked of her goddess the one gift, a chance to be together as mates, and so they were turned themselves into butterflies. A silly legend. If he'd loved her, he would not have killed her. The woman tilted her head and looked at the man. You are arrogant and brash, knowing nothing of this world we move through. In this place, something happened. The waters of the pool are the purest of any. None trespass here for long. Is it because the goddess stood here and gathered 2 of her children into her arms? Or is it because a sacrifice of love was made here? And what do you care of it, woman? Twice now you have come to me with hate in your heart and lust in your cock. Twice you have tried to take what was not yours, what I do not wish to give. So I wish to see how black your heart truly was. And so I will say this warning to you. Never come near me or mine again. Your heart is not black, I now know, for you have none. You tried to rationalize your beast nature by saying we are the evil and deserving your abuse. No one will mourn your passing, nor will any find your body if I hear even a whisper that you have laid a hand upon an unwilling girl again. She no longer hid the truth of herself, looking up at him with eyes that held all the mystery of a starry night in them, flicking water from the pool on him and hearing it hiss as it scalded his flesh. And I will hear. The man shrank back, seeing the silvered waters his shame reflected, knowing that in the woman's eyes his illusion was stripped away. He looked up at the rapidly lightening sky. Dawn's glow was haunting the glade, and around him arose butterflies, red as blood, white as bone, black as death. The woman smiled and trailed her hand through the chill waters again. It is the nature of beasts to flee what they cannot understand. Begone. She did not need to look up to know that the man was retreating from her place, from the woman he had underestimated, the butterflies that should not exist, and the image of 2 lovers floating over the silvered waters, watching him with eyes like stars. So quoth this raven.